It is 11 a.m. on the East Coast. It is 4 p.m. in Ireland. And within the next hour, we are expecting President Biden to address the Irish Parliament. CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe is standing by in Dublin. He is covering the president's trip and joins us now. Ed, good to see you. Aaron Gobra. What do we expect to hear from the president when he speaks to the Irish Parliament?
Guys, good to see you. The president running a little bit behind schedule, but set to address a joint session of the Irish Parliament where he's going to, in essence, reiterate the U.S.-Irish relationship, talk a bit about his own heritage here, the close connections between the two countries, the topic of immigration, which, of course, immigration and emigration, both of which are actually a big part of the Irish history and the Irish present, because this country has admitted more than 75,000 refugees, for example, from Ukraine over the course of that conflict, which is causing a bit of a public debate here over whether or not this tiny country should be doing that or not. And yet it also, of course, has that great history of those that fled for the United States at a time of the potato famine and other issues in this country. One thing the president has said repeatedly in Northern Ireland and in Ireland since he arrived is the idea that this is perhaps the first generation of Irish in either end of the island that don't necessarily have to leave in order to find better economic opportunity. And so that is something he's likely to mention as well.
Ed, earlier the president talked to reporters about that leak of the dozens of classified documents. Let's listen.
Mr. President, could you give an update on that leak investigation, the leaked documents from DOD?
I can't right now. There's a full-blown investigation going on, as you know, with the intelligence community and the Justice Department, and they're getting close. I don't have an answer.
How concerned are you about this leak?
Are you concerned about the leak? Okay, guys, it's time to go. Let's go. Cool, we got to move.
I'm not concerned about the leak because I'm concerned that it happened. But there's nothing contemporaneous that I'm aware of that is of great consequence.
So, Ed, we heard the president there. What's the significance of what he had to say?
Two things. First, he's hinting there that there is a manhunt underway for the suspect who may have leaked these documents, posted them online. There's a report in the Washington Post today citing one friend of that alleged leaker, detailing why that person decided to do it and hinting that this person may be on your side of the Atlantic. Let's put it that way right now, back in the United States. And so what he's saying is they seem to be getting close to capturing or at least identifying that person. We'll wait throughout the day here to see if there are any more details on that. But what he's also appearing to do, at least publicly, is downplay concerns about what this leak may have caused in terms of sort of geopolitical implications, saying that while he's concerned that the information was leaked, he's not seeing any real ripple effect because there was nothing contemporaneous or nothing really sensitive revealed in those documents. And yet we know that over the last several days, the Defense Secretary, the Secretary of State, and other U.S. officials have been reaching out to allies to reiterate support and to make sure everything's okay in the wake of this sensitive information being found. And we know that there have been stories in the days since the leak about issues related to South Korea, to Egypt, details of the Ukrainian military's capabilities and what Russia may or may not know or have been planning to do, and then aspects of other sensitive international matters. But the president there saying much ado about nothing. We'll see ultimately whether that's the case. And either way, leaking this information or posting it online, as this leaker is alleged to have done, is a big federal crime and one that you can expect the Justice Department will pursue with charges.
As you know, Ed, the Biden administration also released a new health care plan for DACA recipients. What can you tell us about that?
Well, what this is it's a proposed plan by the Health and Human Services Department to expand Medicaid and Affordable Care Act eligibility to Dreamers. There's no more than 1.2 million of them across the country who, you'll recall, earlier this century were granted this temporary legal status amid the stalemate in Congress over immigration. And there were issues about whether those people are lawfully here or not. And so the president, the Biden administration, HHS, is in essence picking a legal and political fight now with critics of this decision and with Republicans who would be opposed to doing so. One of the biggest holdups in passing the Affordable Care Act back in the day was a Republican push to ensure that undocumented immigrants, Dreamers, wouldn't be eligible for these kinds of federal benefits if the law was ultimately enacted, trying to put Democrats on the spot at a time when immigration was a real hot-button issue. The law is passed that said you had to be sort of legally permissible in the United States at the time. And so what the administration is essentially doing is expanding the definition of that, in essence acknowledging that these millions of dreamers have lived with quasi-legal status all these years amid the inability of Congress and a White House to sort out what to do about the issue. So it's going to take a while to work through the courts. Inevitably, there will be political ramifications for this, and that is also what's at play here. Immigration, of course, remains a big hot-button political issue. The Democrats and Republicans like to use at different times to their advantage, and this is likely to stoke some of that in the months ahead.
And Ed, let's go back to your side of the pond. What does the president have on his agenda today?
Well, he has already gone to see the Irish president, that stout man you saw there standing next to him in the video named Michael Higgins, who's been president here for quite a while. A guy that many observers outside of Ireland would say certainly looks out of central casting and the kind of guy you'd think would be Irish president. He also went to see the Irish Taoiseach, or the prime minister who's the head of government, who was in Washington just a few weeks ago for St. Patrick's Day. He is slated to speak to the Irish Parliament in a little bit, and then tonight is being feted with a big dinner in his honor at the Dublin Castle. All of that ahead of a full day of Irish heritage and sort of Biden family history events tomorrow in the western part of Ireland, County Mayo, where his father's side of the family comes from. That event, though, being billed by the U.S. Embassy here as a real opportunity for the Irish, alongside Americans, to celebrate the shared heritage, something the president's been keen to exploit a bit on this trip, and he's certainly done so. And we should say, there have been thousands of people in the streets of Ireland, whether it was in Dundalk yesterday, whether it's been here in Dublin, maybe not thousands yet, but several hundred lining the streets, and not only in the cities that he's been to, but we noticed last night on our drive back from Dundalk, which is this tiny town in the north back here to Dublin, families, small clusters of people along dark roads waiting for a chance to see the motorcade drive by. Something you don't see in the United States, certainly, when the U.S. president comes to town.
It's been a full day already, and it's not even finished yet. Ed O'Keefe, thank you very much for your time.